48 hours, 800 Tomahawks. 39 days into Iran, and America burns through half its shield. THAAD, Patriot, JASSM, emptied faster than they can be built. The Pentagon says it's enough. Analysts say there's a window. So after winning this war, what happens if the next one starts before the missiles return? America fired its way through one of the most missile-intensive air campaigns in its history. 48 hours into Operation Epic Fury, the skies over Iran were filled with Tomahawks. Destroyers in the Persian Gulf, submarines lurking beneath its surface, B-52s flying out of British airfields, all of them launching systematically at over 13,000 targets. By the time a shaky ceasefire took hold 39 days later, the United States had struck more targets than it did in the entire opening phase of the Iraq War. It worked, but it came at a price that Washington is only now beginning to fully reckon with. On April 22nd, CNN reported that the United States military may have created, in the words of defense analysts, a near-term risk of running out of key missiles. Not someday, not hypothetically, now. The numbers behind that warning are staggering. According to a new analysis published Tuesday by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the United States has burned through at least half of its entire stockpile of THAAD missiles, the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense interceptors that form the backbone of America's protection against ballistic missiles. It has expended nearly half of its Patriot air defense missiles, and it has used at least 45% of its precision strike missiles, a weapon so new and so limited that, according to one Army official, the entire inventory may have been fired. Then there's the Tomahawk, that iconic cruise missile used by American forces since Desert Storm in 1991, fired from ships and submarines with surgical precision. The Washington Post reported that more than 850 were launched in the first month of the war alone. That's roughly 30% of the entire stockpile gone. Bloomberg, meanwhile, reported that more than 1,000 JASSMs, the stealth air-launched missiles carried by B-52s, were also expended. More than a quarter of those reserves in under 6 weeks. Mark Cancian, a retired US Marine Corps colonel and co-author of the CSIS analysis, put it plainly to CNN.
The depletion of key ammunition has created a window of increased vulnerability in the Western Pacific.
That phrase Western Pacific is doing a lot of heavy lifting right now inside the Pentagon. Because here is the thing about what America just used these weapons for. Iran, for all its military capability, is not China. Iran does not have the naval assets, the long-range precision strike capability, or the air defense density that China has. The missiles consumed in Operation Epic Fury were designed in large part to deter and defeat a very different adversary in a very different ocean. And right now, those stockpiles are down, and they will not come back quickly. The CSIS report lays out a delivery timeline that should give pause to anyone in the national security world. Rebuilding the Tomahawk stockpile to pre-war levels will take an estimated 47 months, JASSMs, 48 months, THAAD interceptors, 53 months. And that's assuming Congress passes the appropriations, assuming manufacturers hit their targets, assuming no further conflict draws down reserves in the meantime. 4 years. In the current global environment, that is a very long time to be short. And it isn't just America waiting in line. Japan was reportedly told its order of 400 Tomahawks, missiles it needs to operationalize its own long-range strike capability as a counterweight to China, may now be delayed because of the Iran war. Ukraine, which has been receiving Patriot interceptors from Allied stockpiles throughout its war with Russia, is also watching. President Volodymyr Zelensky has made the point directly. Every Patriot missile fired in the Middle East, he has argued, is one fewer that Ukraine can acquire. The Pentagon, for its part, is pushing back on the alarm.
The US military has everything it needs to execute at the time and place of the president's choosing. we have executed multiple successful operations across combatant commands while ensuring the US military possesses a deep arsenal of capabilities to protect our people and our interests.
The CS's analysis itself acknowledges that the United States has enough munitions to resume operations against Iran if the ceasefire collapses. The remaining Tomahawks, the remaining Patriots, the remaining THAAD interceptors, they are sufficient for this war, under any plausible scenario, as the report puts it. But the question being asked in defense circles right now is not about this war. It is about the next one. The Trump administration has moved quickly. A series of framework agreements with defense manufacturers have been signed in recent weeks, putting missile production on what officials describe as a wartime footing. Raytheon has announced plans to increase SM-6 production to more than 500 missiles a year. RTX will push Tomahawk production past 1,000 annually. Lockheed Martin has said it will scale THAAD interceptor production to 400 a year from a current rate of just 96. PAC-3 MSE Patriot production, currently at 600 a year, is targeted to hit 2,000 by 2030. These are significant commitments, but the gap between a signed contract and a missile in a launcher is measured in years, not months. Historically, the lead time from appropriation to first delivery on major missile programs is around 24 months. In recent years, with order books already strained, that has stretched to 36 months or more. Add production time for a full lot, and you are looking at 4 to 5 years for the full effect to be felt. America has traded long-term deterrence capacity for a short-term operational victory, and President Trump has accepted that trade-off. The logic, as CSIS frames it, is that it is better to decisively win the war you are currently fighting than to hold back capability for a future conflict that may never come. Once the naval assets deployed to the Middle East return to the Pacific, and once production lines begin to fill the gap, the theory goes, the window of vulnerability will close. Maybe, but the window is open right now, and the world has a way of not waiting for production schedules to catch up. Of the 7 critical munitions analysed by CSIS, the report singles out THAAD interceptors as the most critical of all, the one with the lowest inventory, the longest production gap, and no real substitute. There have been no new THAAD deliveries since August 2023. The next ones are not expected until April 2027, and only 13 of the radar systems that make THAAD work have ever been delivered to the United States military.